Today we're talking with Dances with Films founder Leslee Scallon about the indie filmmaking scene and what it takes to build an indie filmmaking community. Leslee, welcome to an episode of Make It Till You Make It.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
You know, I'm really stoked that you're here today because you guys have been working on this festival for years. So 29 years ago, you and Michael started Dances with Films. Can you tell me, how did it come to be?
1998 was our very first festival, right? But of course we did it for the reason that most filmmakers create a festival, and that was we had our own film called Indemnity that needed a home. We wanted to get into an industry festival. We didn't want to do a regional festival or anything like that. We also didn't have the money for submission fees. So we truly, pinpointed some of the where we knew industry went to, and when we didn't get into that 5 or 6 of them, then we were sitting around going, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to do a screening. And then it was like, well, who are we going to get to come? Because we really still weren't connected, And then Michael came up with the crazy idea. He goes, if we have a film that doesn't have any names in it that aren't getting in where we want to get in, he goes, there's probably a lot of other people that are doing the same thing. We put in this one small little ad. And we got like 300 or 400 entries, even that very first year.
First year.
Yeah, and we threw it together, and then we were like, whew, done. The filmmakers that we had in that festival, they all came together and basically came to Michael and I and went, you guys have given us hope again. Please do it again.
A plea from the community that they needed it. How do filmmakers stand out?
So we made it very much a stringent rule that everything is watched all the way through, no matter how good or how bad it is. We were evaluating it on terms of, did we think it could be distributable? Would agents want to come see it? Would because we were gearing entirely for industry, and trying to establish our reputation as that. It's really key to us to make sure that we honor the filmmaker who's at least trying to do something that is more than likely a dream.
Right. Tell me a little bit about the screening process.
We're very diligent about it because of the fact that we are really, the festival of the unknowns. Nobody's given a waiver. Everybody has to pay a submission fee. Everybody is treated exactly the same. And we find that to be very important. And, a lot of times like I said, I'm living in my car. We're like, we can show you somebody living in a smaller car. There are going to be those fees. Festivals also need money to run.
Sure.
Nobody's giving you a theater. Check your ego at the door, always be nice. Don't be afraid to reach out and circle back and go, hey, I just want to check in and see, if you'd seen my film, if if I was progressing. Do you have an ego? I don't care if you've sold out your film. We'll just go pull it. And only one time did that even actually come as a possibility. And it was because the filmmaker told us not to let the film out for review. So the publicist that we were using comes up to the office and goes, oh, I just got a hold of Kevin from the LA Times and I need to send him stuff. And so I hand over what I thought was the top tiers, and I'm like, here, go. Not remembering the guy didn't want it out for review. Well, his review was good, but it wasn't fantastic.
Like glowing?
And he just got in our face and so he had a female producing partner, and here's Michael and I, the female producing partner. Michael and he are like this at this point. And Lauren and I are like, can we just sort this out? You guys just, and they did. They had a line for their screening that was going all the way around the Santa Monica Lemleys down the street. And like I said, I really enjoyed the film. It was one of my favorites that year, although we never have favorites.
You never have favorites?
We never have
favorites. Except for Weirdos, which played at Dances with Films LA, and you watched every screening front row.
Exactly. We don't send out our pass letters until we've actually watched everything. And then we send them and we've already sent out our acceptances, which we embargo people. You can't tell anybody until we can get into our publicity.
That was the hardest secret to keep, knowing that we were at New York, and I'm like, oh my God. I called up our exec producer, Benny. I'm like, Benny, we're into Dances with Films, but you can't tell anyone yet. And he's like, Paulie, that's amazing. He's like, I can't wait. I'm like, great, book your tickets. We're going to go that weekend. I'm like, plan it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is such, there's like electricity that you feel like once you know that you've been accepted to a festival like dances. And it just is the best feeling of all because you guys play at such amazing theaters.
Every film is viewed at least 3 times, sometimes more, but always 3 because when we started figuring out that different people had different tastes, like 3 people could watch the same movie and one person would give it a must-see. And that's really all we have is a must-see, a pass, or a second look. And then we have a comment. And one of the things we're very adamant about, again, because we are filmmakers ourselves, is we send a positive comment about your film to anybody that we pass on. Our respect of the person who has dared to do all of this, which is one of the reasons why it's dare and dream and do. Is our key words because it takes a lot to bring everything together to make a movie, whether it be a short or animated or anything. So we're looking not only at tonality so that nothing is too jarring, we're also looking at length, length times, because, and I'll tell you, if there's one piece of advice I can give to people, edit. We get so many films that are just simply too long.
Right.
They don't fill the space.
Is there a sweet spot for short films?
Not really with us. I know a lot of people are like, oh, shorter, 5 minutes. Yeah, it's easier to cram a 5 or a 10-minute film into a series than it is if it's a 45-minute one or a 40-minute one. It's really, I think filmmakers, you put so much of your love and heart into your script and then into the filming, or you've got a beauty shot that, you just had to do and it cost you so much money and you just want to keep it in. But sometimes you really have to be hard-nosed and go, does this make the story go forward? I say the same thing about a lot of studio films too. There's one that's going to probably win Academy Awards this year. And I'm just was like, oh my God, is it ever going to get over?
Was it the Paul Thomas Anderson film?
Oh, could it been?
That's a good point because I think often indie filmmakers don't necessarily do their own test screenings, even if it's with their friends and family before they submit it. Sometimes maybe all the ideas aren't completely connecting.
It's really about the voice, the uniqueness of a voice. And also, we're going to be putting a lot of effort into wanting to try to get industry there. But we do an orientation, which is one of the things that I think is unique for us.
Well, and it was live and on Zoom. And that's one thing I could really appreciate because often there's indie filmmakers that maybe they hadn't been to a festival before. They don't know what to expect. So by being able to talk to the programmers, know that there's going to be some other events, some happy hours, some conversations with other filmmakers, like the conversation series that you guys run, or that there's even that you guys are going to be doing panels.
The panels, yeah. We always do in LA at least 5, and we get really great. Jackie Tepper, our producing partner, books a great panel. She started out her career at New Line as Mark Ordesky's assistant.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, and he produced
From
Lord of the Rings.
Rings.
And so our orientations, I think, are very important because, yes, there are a lot of first-timers, but there's also some that have done the festival circuit 15 times. There's always the ability to learn something from an orientation that you may not have known before.
I think some filmmakers don't understand necessarily that it's their responsibility and motivation to fill that theater. Like if you get programmed, especially if you're in shorts, it is, as a filmmaker, get people to your screening. Invite distributors, reach out there. You can't rely on the festival for everything.
Just because we, pass on something doesn't mean that the next time it won't be different. It could be, like even if it had been really good, maybe we got 4 that were along the same kind of theme.
Oh, right.
And we picked this one. We're not going to pick 4 that have the same theme of a baby crying in the distance and where I'm looking for the baby. We have a variety of different things.
What are some tips for filmmakers at the festival? How to act? What can they do to promote their films?
Get to know your fellow people. We've gotten to now what we've been doing is we connect everybody within their own programs, and also like this is who you're screening with. So reach out, see each other's trailers, talk to each other, especially in a short series, band together and create something that you can help, because helping your friend or a fellow filmmaker only helps you.
I think that may have been the first time that we had been connected with other people in our block. And one of the filmmakers, Tom, said, he sent out a little intro and he's like, hey everybody, we're all in the same block together. Send me your trailers. I'm going to do a super cut of our trailers all together for a block ad for us. And I thought that was brilliant. And I'm like, oh my God. And then so he did that for New York. And then when it came to LA, I was like, as soon as we had the list of our screeners and all of our fellow people in our program, I'm like, we're going to cut a trailer of everybody's trailers together. And then it just gave us a little something to kind of get to know each other beforehand. Dances with Films also runs a number of events throughout the year and socials.
We do mixers, you know, and we find a bar and we say, we'll be there at 6, come on down, you know. And it's great because, you know, basically whatever programmers are in town are there, and you know, we'll introduce you to other people, or if somebody comes up to me and they're submitting a feature, I'll say, oh, you should meet Ariana. People always are like, how do you program? And it's like there are numerous factors. Yes, we are looking at Premiere. We're looking at it particularly because we consider ourselves an industry festival. We're not exclusive to it, but it does help, and it helps to have the energy and the excitement that we know you're going to bring in by it being a first-time screening. Please don't do cast and crew screenings before that. Wait and have it at your festival.
Because then at the festival, everybody can get dressed up. You could do your red carpet or your orange carpet together. I know for us, it was a thrill. We had so many people from the cast and crew come out. I think we had like 20 people taking red carpet photos. It was amazing. And then we all go to the screening together and you all get to laugh and cry and see all these beautiful films on screen. I think also like some filmmakers, when they go to a festival, they're all like, it's all about me and my film. Think more about the community. We're all in this together. We want to see and support each other's films. We want to be able to go out, hey, I love what you did. Or then you can find, like maybe even find other collaborators.
Exactly. Oh, many a person has collaborated, like talking in the lobby, and then they're like, oh my God, let's get combined together and let's make this. And so that is the really exciting thing, that, you know, we're very big advocates of like get to know each other. But somehow, because of the way we do our screening process, I don't know how it is, but we probably have 98% amazing people who are there for all the right reasons. And I think it's part of the communication that we do. We always get a lot of compliments about the fact that we are like always in contact, always responding with the emails as quickly as we can.
Right.
And although we also, you know, put together, this has been a lot of years of putting together an actual pamphlet, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of like, this is how to do the festival and get the most out of it.
Oh, that PDF guide.
Yes,
the filmmaker's handbook that kind of comes with the festival.
And it is so funny because then we'll get an email and it drives Michael crazy. It'll be like, where do I submit the DCP? And it's like,
check the guide. Check the guide.
Page 17. Please read the guide all the way through before asking us questions. Do your research. You know, if there is somebody, especially for like features that are looking for to be, you know, acquired, do your research. Figure out who you want to invite and target them. And don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call them or send them an email and say, you know, because a lot of times they will answer.
Sure.
You know?
And also, like, buy a couple of extra tickets to your screening and start inviting some of those industry people, because you may have people that can make it at the very last second, and you don't want to be like, oh, well, by the way, you got to buy your own ticket, or maybe my screening's sold out.
Now, oh, yeah. And we do give a lot of sellouts at this point in time. Yeah, no, it's very important to be proactive. I did a Cocktails and Conversations one year with Russell Carpenter, right? Academy Award winning cinematographer. Again, amazing human being. And he talked about the fact that, you know, here he graduated, you know, and he knew he was really good, but he's super shy. And he goes, and back then it was telephones, the emails were not existing yet. But he was like, I finally realized I had to pick up the phone and tell people I'm available for work.
Whoa, okay.
You know, they're not just necessarily tripping over to find even somebody who would later on become an Academy Award winning cinematographer.
Wow.
For one of the biggest movies ever.
What are things filmmakers can do to be prepared for their Q&A?
Being there. Again, we have great attendance. Almost entirely every filmmaker shows up. Because if you don't show up, then your screening is just going and nobody's going to get to know you. And a lot of times, if there's something you want to particularly talk about, just find out who's doing the moderating and you can tell them, or talk to your lead programmer with something like that. We try to stay away from too generic of questions. I will say sometimes I cheat, like so what was the genesis of this story? But it is an important question that everybody does want to know. But we do try to get specific and ask about certain moments, or why did you choose to do this? Or, the style was so unique. How did you decide? Did you work with your cinematographer? But if there's something that, you specifically want to talk about, just tell us.
What are ways that you've seen people really stand out on the red carpet?
First of all, it's energy. We don't like those stiff,
like old school 1920s family portraits?
Yes, it's have fun with it. We love the group shots. It's great to have a bunch of people. I'm always, as I walk by, I'm always like, energy, guys, make it funny, And those kind of things really project forward. The other thing is to know who's shooting the camera, the picture. Make sure you got everybody's eyes there, kind of things. Try not to get frozen.
Don't speak.
Yeah.
While you could be mid-sentence on something.
Yes, but unless you're on the video, don't tell them your whole synopses, right? Elevator pitches. Think short sentences. Think to include, the name of your film.
Right, and then even just practice. I find like even just practicing with a friend or practicing with one of your fellow producer or a writer partner or whatever. That if you practice these responses, then you just get better and better at it. And
then here's the other thing is that then if you can get those clips, or if you, because again, we deal with so much, the no star kind of factor. Do your own interviews like this. Cut them up and use them on social media. Throw some of your behind the scenes when you start truly promoting it, and start dropping those things so that you are that presence, because those algorithms are all over the place. Maybe you'll be working with a publicist, maybe you can't afford one and you're doing it DIY, which is fine. You can reach out to reporters. You can target.
You can write your own press releases.
You can write your own press releases and, and get them out there, So, just try to make sure it's well written, succinct, and especially if you're going to send something via email, short and sweet again. Reporters don't have the time to read your whole synopsis and then why you did it and, your story. And I always say war stories are great, that thing that really had to clinch you, like for Indemnity, I had gotten all of our locations, and there was one where we all went to town because it was a kidnapping gone wrong.
Okay.
And so we went to the little local in the woods, grocery store, which is where we found out that the kidnapping went all wrong, right? Because now there's a newspaper there. Well, the owner who said, "Sure, you can film here," when we show up, goes, "Well, I want $500 if you're going to, turn off my machines."
Whoa. Yeah, the shakedown, the location shakedown.
That store shut down very quickly afterwards because you don't do that to a local kid who came into town to do something. But the whole cast and crew was like, "Well, what was the point of the scene?" And the point was to find the newspaper. Well, maybe it's such a small little town that they just leave it here, and then people have put change on there, and we just
so you problem solved
right then and there. But that's a great little story to to tell somebody as on a carpet, one of the tougher things. And sometimes you will also have a reporter who doesn't know anything about your film, so if you have
because they're interviewing 100 filmmakers that day,
and they haven't necessarily seen the films or even read the synopsis, so if you have kind of your own dialogue that that this is what you want to get out, like I said, practice it or don't, or let it be off the cuff, but it's good to have those things, in your back pocket to pull out if you need it.
There's two things that I really love. Well, there's many, many things that I love that Dances with Films is doing. Two of those things. One, the Dances with Films t-shirt does have the name of the film, of your film on the back. And that's, 100 and some odd shorts and films?
250 plus in
250.
LA.
Wow.
And New York was, I think, 135 this year.
Dang, right?
Ish.
But it does, having your name on the back of the shirt, I think it just builds this awesome sense of community. You're like, oh, what's that one? What's that one? And then the program. The program that is in your hand that you can check out, that you can see all these awesome posters that people have done. Oh, yes.
Yes.
An amazing poster. But yeah, that's the thing is I love the program.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of festivals, are going to just digital. And I don't want to be on my phone any more than I have to. I love the fact that and that's not inexpensive to do. It's a perfect bind. I mean, it drives us crazy.
It's quality, and the paper feels good too. It's a nice keepsake afterwards.
I love them, and we don't charge for them. You know, I mean, I know many a festival where it's like $10 for you know to buy it.
One thing that I've really loved about dance is when I'm at the New York Festival, I'm running into LA filmmakers, and when I'm at the LA festivals, there's filmmakers from Chicago, Canada, New York, all over America, Mexico, even from Europe and India. You have so many filmmakers coming from around the world. What's that like to be a home for all these international filmmakers?
When we started reaching out and people would be like, because we don't provide housing, we don't provide travel, everybody wants to come to LA, you know, and they want to do the meeting and the greeting and seeing other people's work. And it's exciting. It's, you know, I have to say, we would never do an online festival again, but with the COVID year, we did have to go online. And it was so cool because we had people in Egypt, Russia, I mean, just everywhere, you know, and we were doing these Zoom, you know, Q&As after the films.
Yeah.
And, you know, it'd be like, one was like, yep, I'm doing shots right now, you know, because it was 3 a.m. for them, whereas it was, you know, 7 p.m. for us, and we hadn't quite got to doing shots yet.
Right, yeah, not yet. After the screenings. Awesome. Well, submissions are still open for Dances with Films.
Yes.
What's the best way people can apply?
So right now we're mainly on Film Freeway. It's a pretty easy, once you've signed up for them, then, you know, they make it pretty easy for you guys to submit. I think it's just you click a button and off it goes with your money. Here's another tip though. I know that Film Freeway will send out these blasts and, you know, and they say, oh, here's all these. Don't just click on things. Again, I said it earlier.
How to choose the right festival for you.
Exactly. You really need to do your research. And the same thing for like, even because you can come and attend our panels, you can buy a ticket to a panel. You don't have to be in the festival to come to a panel.
Right.
You know, but find out who is there. Know who they are. Find out what you might want to ask them. Or because with our panels, we do chit chat for 20, 30 minutes, and then we open it up for your questions. You can say, I love your work.
And don't turn your question into something about you.
Yes. Oh, God.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
It's like a filmmaker faux pas. They're like, I've been thinking about your work, and it reminds me of my work. And that's why, what should I do?
Yeah. Well, and actors, too, because we have... For the most part, I think we've had a casting director panel almost every year, so we always encourage the actors to come to the casting directors. And it's like, don't stand up and go, can I give you my resume? And then we had one woman once.
Oh, what are the do's and don'ts
my God,
at a festival?
Okay, so we had this one woman, she was out of South Africa. And first of all, that lovely program, she had stickers made of her film, and she put it on the front of all of our programs.
She hijacked the program.
Totally did. I mean, I took her aside and went, that's so not cool. And then we're like taking our fingernails to the bone, taking off all these little stickers that she put on these programs, because that is totally wrong. And she did, same person, she's at a panel, and it was a distribution panel, and I picked her because she came all the way from South Africa. So I said, your question. She goes, I'm sorry, I just have to do this. And she got up out of her seat, came down and handed everybody her card.
Whoa!
And I didn't
kill everybody's time.
I was just so shocked that it was like, oh my God, I cannot believe you're doing this. That's so absolutely wrong. It's again one of those ones where that's a black mark. We probably, no matter how brilliant your next film is that you submit, we probably wouldn't bring you back because of that attitude.
Yeah,
you know,
no egos.
We have this great final email where we're asking you about what's your goals and things like that.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have an answer for that, just email us back and go, I hadn't thought. Can I have a couple of days to really formulate something for you? Do that. Just be in contact. There are films that we cut off because the filmmaker doesn't get back to us.
Wow, no contact. And if you think about how much communication that you're doing with the filmmakers, for them not to be respectful and even get a response.
Yeah, and you might be on a set or whatever, but you can't tell me, everybody's got a phone at their side, that you can't, you know, hey, I'm on set right now, I'm going to get back to you as soon as I can. But, you know, we don't hear from you. It's like, okay, cut it. There's another one. We want people who want to, you know, utilize, you know,
what an
we're
opportunity.
doing.
What a
Yeah.
stage that you've opened up for these filmmakers.
Yeah, so that's another thing that's very important. So there's lots of factors that start going into when we actually program. So it's been interesting, but like I said, the team is. We really you get to a certain point where you have the eye, you know, and it's very easy. A lot of times we were talking earlier about films being too long and not being edited enough in my eyes, but we can sometimes go, you know what, this is rough, but I can see it. The thing that's the hardest to like overlook is temp music.
Oh, temp music.
Because, you can go, great, but there's no way you're getting the rights to that Elton John song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
There's no way you can afford that. So, and then one of the things that a lot of filmmakers don't understand either is that you can get festival rights for fairly inexpensive.
Right.
But guess what? If it does get picked up,
You got to swap
it
the
changes.
music out.
Or you have to come up with some big money, or whoever's distributing has to come up with some big money.
Wow.
And so that, and making sure you've got your contract signed and all that stuff, those are all the nitty gritty details that, you don't necessarily want to, deal with.
If you guys have made something, submit it to Dances with Films, especially if it's documentary, drama, or shorts. I think, or midnight screening.
Midnights, we got Dread Central called us one of their top non-genre specific festivals for our midnight screenings. We had a filmmaker out of Chicago. She was actually a social worker, and this was a story from the kids that she was helping. And she got into the festival, and she sat in the front row of our orientation. She flew in from Chicago, and she says to me, she goes, "What can I see your distributor list?" And I said, "My distributor list is great, but I said it's not going to do you any good. You need to figure out who you want to
What's on your distributor list? Yeah.
You need to know who you want to get to, and you need to make those calls." And she was like, "Okay," and she was taking notes like crazy. And then she came to me later. I helped her a lot with her synopsis. I mean, we're always willing to help. If we've got the time, we will help to improve anything. But so I help her with her synopsis and all of these kinds of things. And as we're talking, we give audience awards in almost every category, if not every category. And she said, "You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to aim to win an audience award at every festival I ever get into."
Wow.
And that is exactly what she did. Now, one of her actors, 6 months prior to becoming a splash in Sundance, Gina Rodriguez was on our stage accepting that audience award with Carmen, the filmmaker.
Good job.
So we really are a discovery festival. That's the reason that we want to find things that other people are just throwing to the wayside because it's not in their wheelhouse or whatever. So we're, but a young Jesse Eisenberg, we've had so many people come through that, have gone on to do big career. John Hawkes. In our year 2, we were like, nobody knew who John Hawkes was back then. And then boom, John Hawkes becomes John Hawkes. And so, we've had, Oscar contenders in our short series, like 3 or 4 that have been nominated. So we're really proud of what we do, and we're really invested in what we do. A lot of times when we have passed on something, a filmmaker will say, "Hey, can you give me why?" And again, if we have the time, we might have to wait until after the festival, but we can give you our raw notes if you're up to understanding this is going to say what it really was like, where it lacked and why it didn't make it. And it could be just as simple as we have 3 others like this, and so we had to pick one. So it's a good thing to do that, to say, I want to grow from the experience, and what could I have done better.
Amazing feedback.
Yeah.
All the more reason to submit to Dances with Films.
Final deadline is April 3rd. Film Freeway is the easiest way to find us. We're always we're in the top 10 of over 14,000 festivals that are on there constantly. So yeah, read our comments, read what the filmmakers have said about us, and you'll know that we're good peeps and good people to know, and we do our best by filmmakers who dare, dream, and do.
Make your film and put it out there. Don't be afraid to put it out there. Thanks for joining us on Make It Till You Make It. Thanks, Leslie.
You're welcome.